On this edition of Law Weekly, we bring you highlights from the opening ceremony of the 2024 Law Week of the Lagos branch of the Nigerian Bar Association. Also showing on the program, the Nigerian Bar Association Ibadan branch immortalizes former governor of Ondo State and former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Rotimi Akeredolu, by naming its bar center after him. Plus our recap of the top trending legal stories in the courtroom. Hello and welcome to the program. I am Shola Shuyeli. As Nigeria becomes more and more attractive, it's becoming inevitable for the legal profession and its regulators to open up to ideas of how they can facilitate meaningful, reasonable interactions with foreign law firms who want to practice in the country. This was the thrust of the keynote speech on adapting to global shifts in legal practice delivered by Mr. Segun Oshutokun, a partner at one of the foremost global law firms in the UK, during the opening ceremony of the 2024 Annual Law Week of the Lagos branch of the Nigerian Bar Association.
I have to say, as a global law firm, we have benefited from the talent in Nigeria. And I say that proudly, but also with a bit of sympathy, that the war for talent is really hot. It is leading to some significant movements in the market. It is leading to markets like Nigeria being the target of international law firms. And within the international legal market itself, salaries at the moment are going absolutely crazy for newly qualified, with some US law firms offering up to £180,000 for a newly qualified lawyer. That is just a symptom of the volatility and complexity we face. Law firms are trying to drive a wedge between themselves and others by looking for the best talent wherever they are. That does present a challenge for UK and Nigeria. I have been at the forefront of moves in England, and I know George will be very familiar with the work that the BNLF, the British Nigerian Law Forum, did and is doing for many years to find a way of encouraging professionals, Nigerian professionals in England, to be able to practice here with some recognition of the experience they have in the UK. However, I think it's wider than that, and I think it's a question of the Nigerian legal profession and its regulators opening up to ideas as to how they can facilitate meaningful, reasonable interaction with foreign law firms who want to practice or want to have a base in Nigeria. Yes, you can have alliances. Yes, you can have the co-branding you see with at least 2 international law firms here. But I would urge the NBA to look at models in India and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which in the last year have taken steps to open up their legal services to foreign law firms. In the case of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you can now set up a firm in collaboration with Saudi citizens who will have a significant share in that business. There is a limit on the amount of fees you can take out of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and there is a requirement for you to transfer skills. In the case of India, which is one of the most closed markets in the world to legal services, in the last year, they have also made rules to facilitate foreign law firms entering into the jurisdiction but practicing in limited areas. So, for instance, practicing JV, mergers and acquisition, international arbitration, and a few other limited areas. So I'm throwing out those examples really as not that they need to be followed exactly, but to enable practitioners in Nigeria to face up to the challenges and the opportunities which this increasingly volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world is presenting. There is room for everyone, I think, provided it is well regulated and well marshaled, protecting Nigerian lawyers, but also enabling a free flow of ideas and practices to enrich, I think, to the benefit of the Nigerian professional, the Nigerian legal profession.
Following this keynote speech, the first plenary session delved into the topic global legal trends and their impacts on the Nigerian legal practice, navigating the new norms. Speakers on the panel identified the need to adopt modern and global best practices to stay competitive, the role of government in prioritizing Nigerian law firms, and a good rule of law system as key for charting new legal frontiers in the practice of law in Nigeria, as well as with building partnerships and cross-border alliances.
Those who are propelling development in the world are dragging services into it. So very many times, many countries take an advantage of what benefit they would get from enhanced trade in goods. So the issue of throwing in legal services is secondary to them. And that's one thing we need to understand as lawyers. If for Nigeria, the larger interest is to enhance our global trade share in goods, and we have to offer legal services, they will do so in a heartbeat. So it is important that we stop being unnecessarily protective, but we should begin to respond. But that it is happening, it is really happening, and it's driven by forces outside legal services.
But what really concerns me is that is the rule of law. The rule of law in this country is in rapid decline. Some will tell you that the institutions that are meant to uphold the law have collapsed or are broken. Now, if you do not have good rule of law, you cannot talk seriously about globalization and expanding, even though you have a fertile ground for doing that. When we say no one should be above the law or below it, but I'm more concerned really about the judiciary, the impartiality of the judiciary. It is key when you have big transactions and contracts, when there are disputes.
We have a system to fix. If we're trying to expand legal practice, where we're into collaborating across borders, what's the quality of our rule of law? If our rule of law has been compromised, then really would anyone want to engage with us? And if we want to expand beyond borders, do we have anything to sell that folks would like to buy if you're a lawyer coming out of a system where the rule of law has been compromised?
The chairman of the NBA Lagos Branch Conference Planning Committee and the chairman of the branch say they are confident that the lessons from here will put their members in better stead to become more globally relevant and profitable.
What we're doing is just to give back to our members by impacting on them on how to build their practices and how to continue to find relevance and to make money in an economy such as Nigeria. So that's essentially why we're here. And we do hope that at the end of this one-week program, our members would have been impacted in ways in which they can make their practices more profitable, more business-oriented, and particularly to be more relevant in Nigeria.
At the end of the day, it really lies on the government to ensure that the landscape is such that foreigners all over the world have confidence in our system and want to do business with legal practitioners. But we as legal practitioners also need to train ourselves and also embrace technology. Technology is the way to go. Our legal system, the court system, also have to ensure that they're technology driven. E-filing is taking place. Judgments are being delivered online. Let's ensure that it's not only the technology, but also the enforcement. So I guess at the end of the day, there is a need for a collaboration between the judiciary, and the legal practitioners. And I believe we're in the right frame of mind. The judges are being trained, things are working. It's the way to go.
From Lagos, we move to Ibadan, where the Nigerian Bar Association Ibadan branch dedicated a newly completed 2-story building and named it after the late former governor of Ondo State, former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, and former chairman of the NBA Ibadan branch, Rotimi Akeredolu. The event attracted the deputy governor of Ondo State, Olaide Adelami, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, justices of other courts, the widow of the honoree, Mrs. Betty Akeredolu, as well as members of the legal profession. The building, which is located at the NBA Ibadan branch premises, will serve as the Bar Center Annex for legal practitioners in the state. The CJN, who inaugurated the building, said that the late Akeredolu deserved the honor done to him by the branch.
Is hereby declared open today, 6th of June 2024. 5th of June 2024, for the enjoyment of all. Congratulations.
With this building, it's a center for the relaxation of the lawyers, and I'm sure they will find it very, very relaxing. You know, it will. You say there's this common saying, "All work and no play." You know, makes is it Jack a dull boy or so? You know, I think it will sharpen their mental alertness by the time they relax. And so it's not just reading and reading all the way. All the things they said about him were constant. You know, they talk about his integrity, which is impeccable. They talk about rule of law. You know, he doesn't like cheating. You know, he is somebody that is dependable and fearless. You know, these are accolades that is constant about him. Everywhere you go, that's what they say about him.
Other speakers at the event also took turns to celebrate the life and times of the late Aketi.
If you had been to Ondo State about 9-10 years before, and you now go today, you will appreciate that something or many things have changed. Development has been brought to Ondo State. When he was here, we know what he did. When he was president of Nigerian Bar Association, we know how much effort he was able to muster to ensure that Nigerian Bar Association was given its place of pride. So, coming to now saying, okay, we have we are naming this edifice after him is just something, a way of showing gratitude for the performance and his contributions to the Nigerian Bar Association. I do not think that there will be any argument about that at all.
Why are we naming the building after him? It's because of his impact in the branch. Not just as a barman, but Aketi was a friend to everybody. Notwithstanding his status, notwithstanding the height he attained in the legal profession, he was a friend to the downtrodden. I see him more in terms of his humanity than even in the legal as a lawyer. Yes, he used his legal profession, his legal prowess to defend so many classicals and very, famous cases. But in between, with all those things, Aketi was more of he was a very humane person. He may be going to court and he sees somebody, maybe it's coming from court, and he sees a woman selling corn. He will park and buy corn. He was that kind of a person. He would see somebody he knew maybe some years ago walking on the road. He would park and say, "Where are you going?" And he picks people up. In fact, when I was working with him, that was a normal routine with him. We are coming from court, we are going to court. He sees members of the bar, he sees anybody he knows, he stops and picks them up. So Aketi was a friend to everybody. And so that humanity in him is what really, for me, is the greatest of his achievements.
Welcome back. In a significant move to enhance road safety in Nigeria, Chief Justice of Nigeria, Olukayode Ariwola, has joined the ranks of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, as an honorary special marshal. The court marshal, Mr. Shehu Mohammed, conducted the investiture at the Supreme Court and commended the Chief Justice's dedication to upholding the rule of law. The Chief Justice of Nigeria emphasized that this role underscores a collective commitment to road safety, while the court marshal highlighted the importance of strict enforcement to deter traffic violators.
The conferment to the Chief Justice of Nigeria today, my Lord, is born out of your contribution and numerous effort in achieving safer road network through the judiciary arm of government as the #1 head of judiciary in our beloved country, Nigeria. We attest to the fact that your capacity, my Lord, competence, honesty, humility, and administrative prowess will cement the collaboration between the core FRC and the judiciary. With the conferment today, my Lord, to you as a honorary special marshal, we are anticipating a collaboration with the judiciary in prosecuting drivers or owners of vehicles involved in road traffic crashes, especially in claims for compensation on behalf of the crash victims. We equally anticipate a cooperation with the judiciary in strengthening its legal framework to meet up with the contemporary issues of road traffic administration and management. My Lord, I want to assure you that we are committed to continue creating a safe and secured motoring environment for the motoring public and the general public and all the users, so that they can continue to navigate on Nigerian roads without much traffic infractions.
And just before we go, a quick recap of some of the top legal stories in the news.
We begin with the report that the Supreme Court has reversed the judgment in the suit of the federal government against the 36 state governors seeking full autonomy for the 774 local governments in the country. Justice Garba Lawal told the parties in the matter that the date for judgment would be communicated once it is ready. He said this after a 7-man panel of the Apex Court had taken the adoption of processes filed by the Attorney General of the Federation, Senior Advocate of Nigeria Lateef Fagbemi, on behalf of the federal government and those of the 36 state governors. At last Thursday's proceedings, the AGF asked the court to grant all the relief sought by the federal governments in the suit. The governors, through their respective state attorneys general and commissioner for justice, however, opposed the request of the federal government and asked the court to dismiss the suit. The AGF is asking the Apex Court for an order restraining state governors from unilaterally and unlawfully dissolving democratically elected local government leaders, among others. From the Supreme Court, we move to the Court of Appeal, which has set aside contempt proceedings initiated by the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, against the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Olanipekun Olukoyede. In a unanimous judgment read by Justice Olubunmi Oyewole, the court set aside the proceedings while overruling the respondent's preliminary objection, citing technicalities. The appeal court held that the trial judge failed to extend the orders of February the 9th in its final judgment of April the 17th. The court also said the second issue raised by the former governor on the interim order had become an academic exercise. In Kano, a federal high court on Friday imposed a 10 million naira fine on the state government as compensation for breaching the fundamental human rights of the 15th Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero. The presiding judge, Justice Simon Amobeda, made the order while delivering judgment in the case filed by Bayero seeking the enforcement of his rights. The judge described the order given by Governor Abba Yusuf for the house arrest of Bayero as unlawful. The respondents in the suit were the Attorney General of Kano State, Nigeria Police, Inspector General of Police, Commissioner of Police Kano State, State Security Service, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Navy, and the Nigerian Air Force. Justice Amobeda also restrained the defendants from arresting, detaining, or further interfering with Bayero's fundamental rights to liberty. This development comes following Justice Liman Mohammed of the Federal High Court's ruling declaring that the court has jurisdiction to hear Bayero's application. In a related development, A Kano State High Court had also ordered substituted service on Bayero and 4 other emirs in a case filed by the Kano State government to restrain them from parading themselves as emirs. In Abuja, the Federal High Court has adjourned the arraignment of the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, in an alleged money laundering case instituted against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to June the 27th this year, following an argument by the lawyers of the two parties. At the last sitting of the court on Thursday, lawyer to Bello, Adeola Adedipe, told the court that the EFCC lawyers approached his lead counsel with a request to move the date for arraignment. He added that all parties then agreed that June the 27th would be more convenient to produce the defendants in court. Justice Emeka Nwite has adjourned the case following an undertaking by Bello's lawyer, Adedipe, that the defendants will appear in court over his arraignment. The same Justice Emeka Nwite has discharged Binance executives Tigran Gambayan and Nadeem Anjarwalla from the tax evasion allegations leveled against them by the Federal Inland Revenue Service. The court's decision followed a fresh set of amended charges filed by the FIRS after Binance appointed a Nigerian representative named Ayodele Omotilewa. Binance's legal counsel had informed the court about the appointment of its Nigerian representative, which led to the FIRS discontinuing the case against Gambayan and Nadeem Anjarwalla. The fresh charge against Binance accused the platform of offering services to Nigerians without deducting necessary value-added taxes, among other tax-related offences. Meanwhile, there was a debate in court regarding whether the Binance representative should enter the dock and take a plea on behalf of the corporation. The court has adjourned further proceedings till July the 12th. And we round off with the report that on June the 12th, lawyers in Lagos staged a Democracy Day walk to demand more from Nigerian leaders. As early as 7 a.m., lawyers took to the streets for the walk. The walk is part of activities to mark the Law Week of the Lagos branch of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA. The lawyers began the walk from the Court of Appeal, Igboshiri, on Lagos Island, through the streets of Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, to the Falamo Underbridge and back to the Court of Appeal. They used the opportunity of the Democracy Day walk to challenge Nigerian leaders to do right by the people and alleviate their sufferings.
The fact really remains that we must continue to keep and preserve Nigeria's democracy. The worst of democracy is better than the best of the military regime. But the fact remains that people are not happy, the economy is biting hard, and our leaders must do things to make sure that the average Nigerian is happy and the average Nigerian is able to compete favorably with this economy. The economy is biting, inflation is rising, but our leaders must listen. Our leaders must listen to our people and make sure that living in Nigeria, is what are well, and Nigerians do not continue to japa. The reason why people leave Nigeria because the economy is bad, and our leaders must make sure that they make the country to be what's well for Nigerians and to make the economy to be what Nigerians can continue to live in. I remember the time when a dollar was 150 naira. Today, a dollar is over 1,000 naira. It's just not working, and that is what makes all Nigerians to leave the country, because our economy cannot compete favorably with other economies in the world.
And we're working because, as you know, democracy was restored to Nigeria in 1999. We're in 2024, 25 years after, and I'm really wondering, do we truly have democracy? We're lawyers. We're the defender of justice. We want fairness. We want the integrity of the judiciary and the bar to be restored. The question is that where are we and what's the government doing? We had a lot of hopes for the government that we voted into power, but there's a lot of the economic situation has really affected all the citizens of Nigeria. I'm a lawyer and I look at the brain drain that has happened in my law firm and all over the judiciary, especially like the lawyers. We had a topic called how do we mitigate brain drain? Why are professionals leaving the country to other countries? Basically, it's because they can't leave. Nobody can survive under the economic situation that we've been put in. Our currency has devalued. Most lawyers in my law firm eat once a day. It's pathetic. And I wonder what we're doing and how we can restore democracy. So this work, in a nutshell, is to talk to the government and to talk to all of us that we all have a role to play in ensuring that, the dignity of Nigeria and Nigerians are restored.
And this is where we adjourn proceedings for today. Do remember to check out the Channels TV website for a replay of this episode of the program, as well as past episodes. Please also send in any feedback via our social media handles. I am Shola Shayeli. Thank you for watching and see you next week.